it's valuable to take a look at the lab tour to see a picture of our environment. We've worked with W01, which is Alice's workstation, right? Full GUI, nice place to sit and work. We've worked with S01, which is a server, doesn't have a GUI, doesn't even have a decent terminal window, and it's off by itself on the Blue network in our data center. W01 can get to the open internet. W01 is capable of installing software from the open internet and is also capable of patching or updating its software to get bug fixes and security fixes from the open internet. Turns out that's not how W01 is configured. W01, like S01, is configured to get all their software from Y01. We're doing this for a couple of reasons. First of all, S01 can't see the internet. So there's no way S01 can go get software from the open internet. Reason number one. Reason number two, if I get software from the open internet, what version do I get? By default, I get the latest version. I don't want to use the latest version in my labs. I want to use the version of the software that I tested the lab with. I want to work really hard to not introduce any errors into your environment, so that if it's not working, I want to know for sure it's something you did, not because we installed newer software. And finally, because we're using genuine Red Hat Enterprise Linux, we cannot get to the Red Hat software servers out here on the internet without an account. A free developer account will give us everything we need. But I don't want to make you have to do that. So everything we need for this course, all the software we need for this course, is on a software server called Y01. Y stands for YUM. And as we'll see in this lab in our lecture tomorrow, YUM is a critical part of our software installation system. Let's get to W01 and today's lab. Here's W01. Firefox is opening up. I'm going to run Firefox in my W01, A, to make it easy for you to see, and B, to make it easy for me to cut and paste between the windows. I don't need Canvas though. I can just jump to CS Unix. Managing software with RPM. The R in RPM stands for Red Hat. The PM stands for Package Manager. The smallest unit of software that we can install with the authorized Red Hat tools is an RPM, a Red Hat Package Manager format. While the RPM is the smallest unit we can install, it may, and by may I mean usually, it usually contains many files. It's an archive, kind of like a zip or a tar, that contains a number of files plus some information about those files. Metadata is the computer science term we would use for that data about the data. Let's start by getting one of these RPM packages. We're going to run this guy in a terminal window on S01. To do that, we need a terminal window. And we need to make that terminal window, we'll get on to S01, SSH root at S01. This is a brand new appliance, so it'll probably say, hey, you sure you want to do that? Oh, I didn't boot S01. That's not helping. While we wait for S01 to come up, let's take a look at this command. Curl. Does anybody know what curl does? Maybe more valuable. Does anybody know a quick way to see what curl does?
Check the man page.
Yeah. Whoever said that, pat yourself on the back. Transfer a URL. Okay, so it looks like it's a tool to download URLs. So it looks like I'm going to get the file at that URL and output it to a local file. So basically, I'm creating this unzipped RPM file by pulling it data from the Yum Y01 server. First step is to get to S01. And we're in S01. That's not what I want. I want the whole line, don't I? Select it, and then middle mouse. That was fast, but did it work? We need to be really, really careful here. Here's why. What if I typed the file name wrong? That doesn't look very much different, does it? Except the file is smaller. But what I actually got isn't the file I want. If I look at what I just downloaded with the incorrect file name, we'll see it's a text file. And if I look at it, oh, it's an error message saying file not found. That's definitely not what I don't want that. We could have also spotted that by running an MD5 on it. When I run this MD5, I get 6.2. Oh, but I'm supposed to get 0.6. It's not right. My file's bad. Soon as I know that this RPM file is bad, I stop. I don't use it. It's bad. Don't touch it. Let's pull it down again. This time, we'll make sure we type the file name correctly. Now we'll do our MD5 sum. 065F76 all the way down to C1, C0. I didn't check every character, but it looks awful good to me. Let's look at the command that we use to install RPM packages. We want to install one of these packages, this little, the smallest unit that can be installed. We can install them one at a time with the RPM command. So I've downloaded it. Before I install it, let's look and see what packages are installed. RPM, Q for query, A for all. It's quite a few. How would we count that? If I wanted to know how many packages it just showed me. Think back to fundamentals.
Can you cat it to a word count?
Sure can. And I'm going to say word count minus L because I only want the lines. I see I'm getting one of these per line. So word count minus L. 393 packages installed on S01. Just for fun. Let's do the same thing on W01. But before we do, more packages on W01 or fewer packages on W01 compared to S01? We can't know for sure, but we can take an educated guess. We had to take an educated guess. Would I say it's more or less? Yeah, 50-50 chance. Oh, you're good to be wary because no matter what you guess, I'm going to say, why'd you guess that?
Sorry, was the question, would there be more on W01 versus S01? I would say W01 would have more because of the desktop interface.
Look at all the other stuff we got. We got Firefox. We've got the GUI terminal. We have the file browser, the software store, the help. Lots more stuff. Let's see. We never know. S01 could have all kinds of packages we don't see. Yeah, there's 1,127 packages on W01 as opposed to less than 400. So more than roughly 3 times as many. We can do some really cool things with this RPM command. For example, if we want to find out what package did a given program come from or a given file, we can say RPM query file, and then the file in our file system. Hey, where'd this come from? Oh, it came from the package bash 44. Let's look at the RPM file unzip. This isn't very exciting. All this tells us is the name of the package inside this file is unzip 6043. Usually, the package name matches the first part of the file name. It doesn't have to, but it does by convention. Remember I said there was more than one file usually in an RPM? Let's see how many files are in our unzip RPM and what they are. We get bin funzip. I wonder what funzip is. I'll let you guys play with that and see if you can figure out. Sounds interesting. Unzip, unzip fx, zip grep, zip info, some C libraries that are used by those programs, documentation, license information, and finally the man pages. When I ask RPM to install unzip, I don't just get the unzip command. I get these companion commands, these libraries that they need, and the man pages. QLP. Let's find out. Q, L, and P were the options, right? It's just a little easier to search if we do it online. minus Q for query. Okay, so the Q means query. What does the minus L mean? We're going to be careful, get it in the query options. Minus L, list. So query and list minus P. That's an install option. Provides. So I'm saying, what does this package provide? To find all the information about the package, I say QIP, and we get everything that's in that RPM that isn't files. Here's all the extra data: the name, the version, the install date, the type of license it's under. You might need that for the quiz. Type of license it's under. Who packaged it? Even what computer was the packaging done on, or the build done on. Very useful information. Are you ready to install the unzip command finally? No. Let's make sure that we need to install it. Do we have unzip on S01? You probably know that, because I bet some of you have, I know I have, you've forgotten and you've moved a zip file over to S01 and tried to unzip it. We can't. And we'll double check RPM query. Is there any unzip in there? No. Let's try it. Let's install it. RPM minus I for install minus V. What does minus V usually mean? Doesn't always mean this, but it usually means the same thing when it's an option to a command. Verbose. Lots of words. That says install it and tell me everything you can about what you're doing. Well, that was pretty painless. Wonder if it works now. Hey, it works. That's pretty cool. Let's try something a little more ambitious. Let's try the GNU C compiler. We decided we want to write some C code. Maybe we want to make a driver or a module for the kernel, or maybe we want to just learn how to program C. Either way, we're going to need the C compiler. Let's get the RPM. That was quick. I've downloaded that RPM. I want to make sure that I downloaded it correctly. Oh, I do an MD5 on it. EEF2, and just skunk to the end. A2, E93. I'm confident that's right. Let's install it. Oh, wait, what? Error. Failed dependencies. So the RPM packages also contain a list of all the other packages that you need in order to run this one. If we think about W01, there are 1,000 packages, or S01. There are 400 packages on S01. All of them together comprise the operating system. Some of them need other ones to work. If package A needs package B to work, that's called a dependency. And we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things for GCC to work. Now, I could then go download, the bin utils the CPP, the glibc, the lib. I could go download these packages and install them. But there's a really good chance when I go to install one of these, it's going to have dependencies. So then I have to go resolve those dependencies, come back, work on the next one. I think you can see that if we have to do this by hand all the time, it's going to be a little unpleasant and ugly, and it may also be prone to mistakes. The big question is, what do we do next? Well, we turn our attention to Yum. Yum stands for Yellow Dog Updater Modified. Linux distributions come and go. Once upon a time, a popular distribution, which still exists, but isn't as popular, called Yellow Dog, developed a package management system that would make it easy to manage dependencies for Red Hat Package Manager. Yellow Dog's kind of not really big anymore, but its updater has lived on. The Red Hat people said, ooh, that's nice. And it's open source. We'll take that, thank you, and use it. That's the way open source works. Let's see if we can use Yum to install GCC. Yum, I'm going to clear the screen so we can see exactly what's coming from Yum. Yum, install GCC. Let's read this. Installing GCC, but we're also going to install binutils, CPP, glibc devil, glibc headers, ISL, kernel headers, libmpc, libxcrypt devil. So we asked for 1, but we're getting 9. We could have figured out these dependencies ourselves and installed each one of these 9 on our own. But I think we can agree this is a lot more convenient, a lot safer. Download everything, run some checks, and now we install each of them in order. And you'll see that we install, script. We walk our way through. Should be all done. Wonder if it works. GCC. Well, that's exactly the error message I would expect if I ran GCC without telling it what to compile. So we're good.
So with this method, do you not have to do the checksum?
No, because Yum does it for you.
Okay, cool.
More than just a checksum, the packages that come from Red Hat are signed with Red Hat's private key. When we're using the Red Hat repositories, we can be very confident that we're getting good software because we won't install it with our configuration. We won't install it unless it's been signed by Red Hat. And the follow-on is, where did Yum know to find GCC? Look in etc yum-repos.d. Let's look there. etc yum.repos.d. There's a directory called hide that we won't worry about. I didn't want the default repos, so I hid them so they can't be seen. I want 2 specific repos, one called mini83 and one called mini patch. I made both of these. Now, I made them just from RPMs that Red Hat published, but they're small, hence the mini. So Mini 83 contains the minimum set of patches that we need to do our labs. When we install software in Coming Labs, we'll use Y01 because everything we need for our labs is in Y01. We also want to demonstrate patching our system or updating to newer versions of software. To do that, we created a mini patch repo. And the mini patch repo has packages that are newer than 8.3. When we do an update, Yum will say, hey, what's the latest? Oh, there are newer ones in mini patch. I'm going to install those. Let's try that now. But first, why don't we look at the contents of that repo file? It's just a text file. It's got the name. And here's what I think is most interesting. A base URL equals HTTP Y01 Mini 83. Does that look familiar? Have you seen that anywhere? That's the URL we used when we downloaded the patch. So this guy's just a web server with a bunch of packages in it. Let's copy that link and put it in a browser and see what we get. Oops. Maybe I can paste it. There are all the packages that we have in our Mini 83. These are the packages we need to be able to run our labs. Wonder where our patches are. The mini patch repo says they are in Y01 mini patch. So instead of Mini 83, why don't we change that to mini patch? Oh, won't be like that. Trying to help us by rewriting URLs and doing searching. Modern Firefox can make typing in a specific URL a little difficult. I see 1, 2, 3, 4 packages in our patch directory. So when I run yum update on S01, it's going to look at its available repos. And only these 1, 2, 3, 4 packages will be newer than the base. So I expect to see 4 packages updated when I do an update on S01. Let's try it. Yum update. We get a message about Subscription Manager. I did not register this system with Red Hat. So my Subscription Manager stuff won't work ever because I've not signed up to say this copy of Red Hat is on my account. Let's install them. Turns out I needed 1, 2, only 3 of those. So libcurl-devel I didn't use. That's because I don't have libcurl-devel installed on S01. If I had it installed, it would have updated. back to the lab. Optional activity. We have covered everything you need to do the lab, to do the quiz and to do the graded lab. But let's do the optional activity together. And the reason I suggest we do the optional activity together is it's optional. It can take a while. It's not likely to break your VM, but it can take a while. And we don't need to do it for any of the other labs. Well, maybe it's enough for you just to see that I can do it, see how it works. Let us go to Y01. Yum, update. On Y01, I got nothing to update. The reason for that is Y01 uses a local repository. It gets its stuff not from itself or from the open internet. It gets it from the ISO, from the 8.3 repo, which means nothing's updated. So we're fine. Just like if I ran update again on S01, nothing would happen because I have the latest. Do you want to see W01 do an update? I think we want to see W01 do an update. That'd be pretty cool. I need to do a little trick here, though. And what I'm doing now is logging on to W01 in another window, one you can't see. It's not that I don't trust you, but I don't trust you. Why don't I trust you? Or what don't I trust you with? In order to get W01 updated to the latest version of Red Hat software from the internet, I need to use Subscription Manager to register this system with Red Hat, associating it to my Red Hat account. And I do that by running Subscription Manager register. That takes my name and my password. I don't want to type my Red Hat password into a window you guys can see. Sorry. I'm going to run this guy, but let's show you what I'll do. Okay. So here's the command I'm going to run. Oops, I ran it with the bad values. Username. So where it says your username, you put in, right, like James B. Long, my Red Hat account. And then for the password value, you put in the password. My password is not userpass. Let me do that in another window and get registered. Okay. Can be a little slow. I got back a message that said it's registering, and then it's registered, and I got a system ID number. Almost done. Command should return any moment now. As a rule, we'll register our system with Red Hat only once in its life. It's not something we do over and over again. Now, my W01 is an officially licensed Red Hat system. This next line, I will run on, oh, that's W, careful, careful, careful. I'm not on W01. I need to be root. Subscription manager config Red Hat subscription manager dot manage repos equal 1. The W01 that I give you has this manage repos set to 0, which means Red Hat's not managing the repos at all. Not what we want. If we want to do an update, we want Red Hat to manage the repos. Now I should be able to do an update. So first thing we get, updating subscription manager. So Red Hat has logged on to some Red Hat servers, verified that I have the right to some of this Red Hat software, and then has created little local repo files pointing to the Red Hat repositories. Now we're taking an inventory of those repositories and downloading a summary of all the packages that are in those repositories for future reference. Yeah, kind of nice we don't have to do this every week, right? Or you don't have to do it at all. What did we see when we did our update? Well, a whole big list. Let's just look at the summary. We're going to upgrade 500 packages on W01. And we're going to install 34 new packages. To do this, we're going to have to download 3/4 of a gigabyte, 750 meg. Do I do it anyways? Sure, why not? Let's say yes and see how long it takes. I want you to remember this is running in a VM. This copy of Red Hat has not been updated in 3 or 4 months. So not a huge length of time. If this was a Windows system that was several months old, how long would it take to run Windows Update, do you think? A while. If this was an older, if this hadn't been updated in a while, how many times do you think you'd have to reboot during your Windows update? 2, 3 times? That's pretty common. If you get a system that hasn't been updated in a while, sometimes you have to update it 2 or 3 times before all the patches are applied. Linux is much better at that. I will bet you my next week's pay versus your next week's pay that after this is completed, I can run yum update again and there won't be anything else. There'll be one reboot required. And there'll be a reboot required because there's been an update to the kernel. That very core kernel is just about the only thing that requires an update or a reboot. Linux and Unix are better at changing things without rebooting than Windows. It's an architectural design or an implication of the way the file system is architected. Windows is way better at maintaining compatibility for programs over the years. Way, way better. While we wait, see if there's anything else in the lab that's exciting and interesting. No. Then at the end, I'm going to use unregister so that I no longer am consuming one of my licenses just for this lab. This is just going to take a while. I'll leave it running and I'm going to go quiet and let you work on the lab. To Greg's comment about disk cleaning up requiring a reboot. The limitation is in Windows, if someone has a file open, and by someone, I mean any running program. If any running program has a file open, I cannot remove or replace that file. Can't remove it. In Linux, if somebody has a file open, I can remove it from the file system, but it doesn't go away. It actually stays there kind of hidden until the last person using it terminates. What I can do in Linux or Unix in general, I can remove a file, replace it, and then the next time somebody needs it, they get the new version, not the old one. But anybody who still had the old one open keeps it open. I don't know if this was some brilliant insight that the Unix team had to make people's lives easier down the road, or if it's just a coincidence. Either way, it's a really useful, valuable feature. This is going to continue to chug, and I'm going to go quiet, or I'll ask, answer your questions. But first, we stop the recording.